The sun had barely pushed itself over the rugged Montana horizon when Cole tightened the reins on his horse and stared at the empty stage stop with a heaviness that had not left his chest in 3 days, a heaviness that only grew heavier when he looked at the letter still tucked inside his vest, the letter from the agency telling him his bride, Lily Mae Hartwell, would arrive on the Fort Cinder stage at high noon. But noon had come, noon had gone, and the dusty road remained silent, stretching out in a lonely line like a promise someone had forgotten to keep. Cole had waited until the shadows grew long and the air cooled against his skin, waited until the telegraph office closed, until even the stray dogs gave up hope of scrounging leftovers from the saloon porch. No wagon, no stagecoach, no woman stepping down with bonnet ribbons fluttering in the wind. Nothing, just dust and silence, and a cold twist in his gut that refused to fade. Folks in town joked, "Maybe she saw your face in the agency photo and ran for the hills." But Cole didn't laugh. He knew fear when he heard it, and something in that silence didn't feel like rejection. It felt like danger, real danger. So on the morning of the 4th day, when a ranch hand rode in from the North Trail, babbling about wagon wreckage scattered along the canyon road, Cole didn't waste a second. He saddled whiskey, slung his rifle over his back, and rode like a man with the ground on fire behind him. The wind whipped his coat, dust stung his eyes, and every hoofbeat sounded like a countdown running out. He wasn't just looking for a stranger he'd agreed to marry. He was searching for the woman whose letters he had memorized, whose handwriting he knew by heart. A woman who had said she dreamed of wide skies and quiet mornings, and a man who wouldn't raise his voice at her. She had trusted him enough to come across 2 states in a wagon with strangers. The least he could do was find out what happened. The canyon road curled like a snake between towering rocks, and soon Cole saw splinters of wood scattered along the dirt. At first just a wheel spoke, then half a crate, then the leather strap of a trunk. Whiskey snorted nervously. Coyotes were howling somewhere on the ridge, a sound sharp enough to chill bone. Cole slid down from the saddle and knelt beside the debris, touching it gently as if the broken pieces could tell him a story. And they did. Drag marks, blood dried but not old, footprints leading toward the river bend, the smell of smoke still lingering in the wind. Someone had lit a fire here, not long ago. Cole followed the trail with every sense alert, moving through thick sagebrush, boots crunching over gravel, rifle ready. As he rounded the bend, he found more wreckage, the metal frame of a lantern, the torn edge of a woman's shawl, and then, next to a fallen trunk, a small leather-bound book with a ribbon pressed inside. He picked it up, brushed the dust off, and froze. Her initials, LMH. His chest tightened painfully. Lily Mae, he whispered, the name breaking something open inside him. A sudden gust of wind rustled the grass, and that was when he heard it, a faint sound, so soft he thought at first it was the stream. But no, it was breathing, weak breathing. Cole pushed through the brush, heart hammering in his ears, until he saw her, lying half hidden between 2 boulders, covered in dirt and bruises. Her bonnet gone, hair tangled, dress torn, skin pale as winter milk, Lily Mae Hartwell. Unconscious, barely moving, but alive, barely. Cole dropped to his knees so fast it jarred his bones, hands shaking as he hovered over her. Afraid to touch, terrified not to. "Lily! Lily, can you hear me?" She didn't answer, her lips cracked, her pulse thready beneath his fingertips. She looked like she had fought for every breath she still had. Cole scanned the area quickly. Tracks told him everything he needed to know. This wasn't an accident. Someone had attacked the wagon, robbed it, dragged surviving passengers away, and tried to hide the evidence. But she must have crawled here, or escaped, or been left because they thought she wouldn't make it. Rage burned hot and thick through Cole's veins, but he pushed it down. Anger could come later. Right now she needed help. He removed his coat, wrapped it around her gently, and lifted her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. Her head fell against his chest, and for a moment, Cole felt the terrifying stillness of someone hovering between life and death. "Don't you quit on me," he whispered fiercely. "You came all this way. You're gonna stay awake long enough to hear me say, 'I'm glad you came.'" She stirred faintly at his voice, a tiny sound escaping her throat. Not a word, more like a plea. Cole mounted Whiskey with her in his arms, holding her securely as he turned the horse toward town. But he didn't get far. A rifle cracked across the ridge, the bullet slamming into the dirt inches from Whiskey's hooves. Cole jerked the reins, eyes snapping up toward the rock ledges where shadows moved. More than one, bandits, the same ones who wrecked the wagon. And they weren't finished yet. He tightened his grip around Lily May, heart thundering in his chest as he whispered, "Hold on. I'll get you safe. I swear it." With another shot echoing across the canyon, Cole kicked Whiskey hard, and the horse sprang forward. As the chase began, the cowboy, fighting not just for the woman he'd been promised, but for the woman fate had nearly stolen from him. Before he ever had the chance to meet her, night had already swallowed the canyon by the time Cole burst out onto the open prairie with Lily May clutched against him, her breath shallow, her skin cold as twilight frost, and the thunder of hoofbeats behind them growing louder by the second as the bandits gave chase with the desperation of men who knew exactly what secret they had left to die among the rocks. The moon rose in a thin silver arc, just enough light to paint the land in ghostly shadows, and Cole leaned low over Whiskey's neck, urging the stallion to give every ounce of strength he had left. Wind whipped past him, carrying the scent of smoke from the direction of town, and in Lily May's faint, uneven breathing, Cole heard not just danger, but the fragile thread of a life depending entirely on him. "Stay with me, Lily," he murmured, his voice rough. "I ain't losing you now, not after finding you." He didn't know if she heard him, but her fingers twitched ever so slightly against his shirt, a movement so small yet powerful enough to ignite a fierce determination in his chest. Behind him, gunshots cracked across the plains, and the dry grass erupted in spurts of dust where bullets struck. Whiskey swerved sharply, muscles quivering with exertion, and Cole knew he couldn't outrun them forever. He needed cover, somewhere to hide her, somewhere to hold off the men who had nearly ended her life. And then he saw it. The old mining outpost at Devil's Ridge, abandoned years ago when the gold dried up and prospectors fled, leaving behind rusted sheds and a cracked stone foundation half swallowed by weeds. Cole yanked the reins and angled Whiskey toward the ridge, the horse climbing the steep incline with grunts of effort until they reached the shadowed shelter of the collapsed structure. He slid off, cradled Lily carefully to the ground, propped her against what remained of a wall, and whispered, "Don't you give up now, sweetheart. You fought too hard already." Her eyelids fluttered, and for the first time he saw her eyes, soft gray, trembling with pain, but alive. Alive! That was enough to make Cole's heart tighten so hard he nearly staggered. But there was no time. The bandits were close. He could hear their curses echoing among the rocks. Cole grabbed his rifle, checked the chamber, and stepped into the open, positioning himself between Lily and the approaching danger, his silhouette standing tall against the moonlight like a lone sentinel carved from the ridge itself.